Why does your character keep making the same choice when it costs them everything? Why does the choice make perfect sense to you, but feel wrong to your readers? And why does rewriting the scene never quite fix the problem? If you have ever looked at a moment like that and thought, I know why they're doing this, but it's not landing on the page, then this is the video for you. Just in case you are new around these here parts, my name is Dana. I'm a USA Today bestselling author. I'm a developmental editor, and I am the chief storyteller at Danger Tales, where I help romance and fantasy authors write addictive novels. And these are the novels that readers cannot help but to gobble up and tell their reading friends and to build profitable publishing careers. Welcome back. We are in a four-part series on how your character's wound shapes what they see, the choices that they make, and the change that they resist. Because when you understand this dynamic, your novel gets clearer and your writing gets stronger. And so in the first video in this series, we looked at how the character's wound becomes this lens that shapes the meaning that they assign to people, situations, and even love itself. And in this video, we're talking, well, basically, we're taking the next step because I mean, it's video too, but we're taking the next step and seeing how this lens turns into their behavior and why the wrong choice is often the most loyal one your character can make. But before we dive in, let me just give you a quick update at Danger Tales. This week was so busy. I told you all after my Power Week that that's when it's really my first week of the year. And I didn't explain my Power Week is that we have three birthdays and our anniversary in the same week. And so over the years, it's meant a lot of cake, a lot of celebrating, a lot of hanging out and family time. And so we're on the other side of that. And it's like I did all the things basically. So, what did we do? This week, we had our normal sprints, but we also had a live recording, which was new. I don't recall ever doing this before. I did a live recording of an upcoming offer that we had. So, that meant the people and the members of DTW were able to be on the line live and ask questions. And it was actually pretty dope. Like we had a great time. And then we also have, at the time of this recording, we have book club this week, which happens actually today, right after I finish recording. Um, we are reading Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is my first Elsie Silver book, and I can say that this will not be my last. Flawless is a small town, grumpy sunshine romance. It would be probably even classified as a modern Western. It's about a professional bull rider and a woman who, I guess technically, she's connected to his agent and she's sort of tasked to babysit him. And so it's like a really, really great book. I'll come back and talk more about it. But yeah, that's this week as well. And we rarely have like two big live events in a week because I'm really aware of how our students are actively writing and actively publishing. And so it made it busy, but I think it was well worth it because the topic that we covered in the live was really, really great. And also, I had a long Monday because it was podcast recording day. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, and if I have, my bad. But I have a podcast with one of my closest friends, Rachel, over at Story Cipher. You can find us at Story Deep Dive. I'll even include the link in the description because we do repost the videos on YouTube as well. And we record once a month, which means a long day of recording. And we recorded the episodes for our February pick, which you guys will see this tomorrow. But the February pick is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. What's really cool about our podcast picks is that we take turns selecting. So Before I Let Go is my pick. And we had a great discussion. And that's something else I'll come back. I don't want to spill that. I want you to go over, check it out, enjoy it. It's a great podcast to be able to just listen in the background while you're doing things. If you're like me, I love to quilt and I love to hand sew and knit. So I listen to a lot of podcasts while I'm doing that. And so this is another great one that you may find yourself just stopping and taking notes, definitely picking up the books and finding ways to get stronger as a writer through your active reading. So yeah, go over and check that out as well. And I'll make sure I put the link in the description. Let's go ahead and dive in, but I want to give a quick reminder before I start reading the newsletter that this is a chatty video. I'm going to read this week's newsletter and add my commentary along the way. You get to enjoy my corny jokes for free. So you're welcome. And if you feel like this style is just not your bag, then I would suggest going over to our website at dangertales.com and subscribing to the newsletter. And if you already get it, go ahead and just search your inbox for the newsletter that went out on January 24th, 2026. With that said, let's get it. This issue's subject line is why the wrong choice is the most loyal one your character can make. And the subtitle or pre-header is it's not sabotage, it's self-protection, and readers should feel it. Like I'm coming out the gate hot because I went back and forth about using the language wrong choice. I think that sounds a little bit, it sounds almost wrong because in the moment, it doesn't always feel like a wrong choice. In the newsletter, I talk about this a little bit. What I find a lot of times is this wrong choice sort of can feel like something's off or misaligned or maybe even broken or even illogical. It may feel like repetition or a pattern, and you're wondering as a reader, like, are we back here again? And and so that's in a lot of ways hard to explain without doing what I just did. So saying wrong choice was just a good way to collapse that information. But I hope that the newsletter like unpacks it more. And so let's go ahead and get into it. You know what happened to your character. You know why, thanks to last week's newsletter. And you know the lie they believe because of it. Look at you. Okay, I'm showing out already. Let's get to business. As a reminder, too, I am literally reading, like the newsletter is behind you. So let's get into it as well. So just know that that's what I'm doing here. Do you know what the lie is making them do? Not what they say they're doing, not what they think they're doing. What the lie is actually controlling in the moment. We see this in the choices they make over and over, even when it costs them everything. And like I said in that first note, I think I was reading a story, and I remember as I was reading it, I kept feeling like, oh, here we go again. And what kept coming back was their wound in like little short one-off descriptions, and it felt so repetitive, and I just kept asking myself, why does it feel that way? And I realized it was because like it's not landing, right? If your reader feels like they're sort of being annoyed by you sharing their wound or sharing their process of getting to the other side of that wound, then there's something about it we're not getting. And I think it's a great opportunity to like shore up your writing, shore up how you're sharing it in the story, and also unpacking it in a way that we feel connected and not annoyed, right? Okay, I'll continue. Because here's what gets murky for most writers. The lie doesn't just sit there in your character's head living rent free. No, it runs them. It shapes every decision. It makes them choose the thing that looks wrong to everyone else. But it feels like the option that keeps them safe. Let me show you what I mean. When the wrong choice is the loyal one. Let's go back to our girl, Imani. Last week, I shared that she's an event planner whose ex fiance, Ethan, is trying to explain himself after 5 years of silence. We know her lie. Men don't stay. Not really. If you let a man close enough to need him, he will leave, and the promises won't protect you. So, what does that lie make her do when Ethan shows up wanting to talk? She shuts him down, quick, fast, and in a hurry, as my mother liked to say. She won't hear him out, won't let him finish a sentence. But she also won't block his number, and she keeps rereading his text messages. From the outside, this behavior looks contradictory. She clearly still wants something from him, but she won't let him get close enough to give it. Here's the thing that we see on the page, right? This is one of those great times to show versus tell. We see how she's acting versus what she's saying. We even get to see what she's thinking versus what she's saying. And that is the process of us as the reader beginning to connect, and we get to see it sort of play out on the page. But from the inside, Imani, let me say that again. But from the inside, Imani's lie is screaming in my best Whoopi Goldberg voice. You in trouble, girl. Do y'all know where that's from? I feel like every time I put these quotes, I age myself, but it's from the movie Ghost. Like, you in trouble, girl. Listen, her inner voice is talking, and it's talking loud, and it is holding on to that lie. So shutting him down isn't fickle. It is necessary to Imani because it's the only response that keeps her heart safe. When I say this, I feel like saying it and writing it feels a little bit on the cheesy side, but we write romance and we're writing about the matters of the heart. And your character is not going to say, I'm protecting my heart. But that is what she's doing. She is protecting herself. Again, this is the mortar that is added to the bricks that builds the wall that is around your character. And she learned that let me back, I'm gonna say that again, because it's the only response that keeps her heart safe. And she learned that when she was 12 years old. Thank you very much. 12 years old. Think about this. Go back to last week's newsletter and look at that again when we did those 5 whys, because that wound created that lie, and that lie is controlling how she shows up. And if you want help translating this to your story, not just understanding it in theory, that's exactly what we do inside of Danger Tales Writers. You can learn the framework here on YouTube, but DTW is where you can apply it to your book with support, feedback, and accountability so that these choices actually land on the page. All right, let's get back to Imani, because here's how the lie operates and why this choice makes perfect sense to her. And it's because the lie doesn't just color how the character sees the world. It controls what they choose in that world. Let's pause right there. A pregnant pause, a hard pause. Hold my coffee. Because if we understand this, one, as a writer, it makes it so much easier to write. And if we understand it as a reader, we are more empathetic. We lean in. And even if we don't like what the person is doing, we understand. So let's continue. It decides what feels safe and what feels dangerous, what's worth protecting and what has to be sacrificed, what's possible and what's off limits before they even consider it. Y'all, it's like this. It's knee jerk. It's automatic. It has been learned and sort of embedded in them over years. Your character isn't making poor choices. They're choosing in alignment with a rule book they didn't even know, or with a rule book they don't even know exists. Listen, she doesn't stop and say, you remember what your 12-year-old self went through? Girl, don't do that again. Now, sometimes your characters will do that, but this will show that you don't have to do that, right? You don't have it. We get to experience it in the story, but it doesn't have to be so in your face. We get to steep it in being in that world, in that environment, in those moments, based on what you pick as the writer. So we get to live it with them versus it being like a teleprompter. You know what I'm saying? I feel like butter. Okay, the choice makes perfect sense, and this is important to remember. So when Ethan shows up looking good, smelling good, worthy of the sexiest romance novel cover on earth, he's groveling and he's saying all the right things the right way, and it is uber tempting. Imani has two choices. Option one, hear him out, which to Imani reads as letting Ethan back in and risking getting hurt again. Or option two, shut him down, which to Imani reads keep him at a distance, keep her heart intact, and do what she's always done. From a romance reader's perspective, we are smelling reconciliation too soon. And it seems like option one is the right choice because we are here for the HEA. I wanted to add, damn it, but I had to erase it. Right? We are here for the HEA. We want them to get together. But sometimes it's too soon, boo. You got to let that thing marinate. And we really have to see it sort of come to life on the page, right? But that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Because Imani's consultant, her 12-year-old self, ain't buying it. And history has shown Imani that the last time she didn't listen to her inner voice, this man pulled out her heart, pounced on it, and moved to Seattle. No, ma'am, not on my watch. Again, HMS. We're not going to talk about that. So, option two isn't just logical, it's the only choice that makes sense. Remember that. Because the lie says option two is the only way to keep her heart and her world intact, to keep from getting hurt again. And she'd rather be alone and safe than close and vulnerable. That's loyalty. And not to him, but to the belief system that's kept her standing. Y'all, this is why in romance, it is so important to understand like what their understanding and sort of ethos is when it comes to love and relationships. We don't walk around saying, I'm going to protect my womb, right? I'm going to protect my heart. You might, if somebody did too much, you might be very in tune with yourself and you know, that looks too much like a red flag. This is what your character is experiencing. And as writers, we're aiming to sort of, we're to capture that and to convey that. So when she's doing this, she is being loyal to herself. And so even though us as readers, we want that HEA, we want that reconciliation, you as the writer are determining the pace. You're determining the way you use douse it out, like how you decide to lay that thing out, how you decide to set this table. Okay. So how I recommend seeing this. If your character's choice feels confusing or inconsistent, ask yourself, what is this choice protecting them from? Not what they're moving toward or what they're protecting themselves, not what they're moving towards, but what they're protecting themselves from. And sometimes, like whenever I'm talking about this or I'm teaching this, I always remind my students that this is not the sexy talk. This will probably be the thing that does not get the most views all the time. But when you get this and you lock in, it makes understanding your characters, writing your characters, knowing what to pick easier. Because this is how they see the world. And what you're aiming to do is translate that to the page. This is not about what they're moving toward, but what they're protecting themselves from. Because once you see what the lie is making them protect, the wrong choice suddenly makes perfect sense. And when you write it on the page, readers won't be frustrated. They'll understand, even if they wish the character would choose differently, right? Even though we wish it and we want it, we are trusting you, the writer, to get us to that point when it's time. And that just goes into your brand promise and your reader promise, which I'm sure we'll talk about in future videos. What I want you to consider is, where does your character keep circling the block? Where do they get close to something they want, then they pull away? If that moment is starting to feel repetitive or frustrating to you or to your readers, the issue usually isn't the choice itself. It's that the lie isn't loud enough on the page. Readers need to feel what your character is protecting themselves from, not just see them resist, because it helps them understand the cost of saying yes. And this is like the mic drop moment. I don't have like a Now, when I'm recording this by myself, talking to myself, it sounds a little bit nuts. But this is where we understand the cost of saying yes. When we understand the cost of saying yes, it's like us protecting our good girlfriend. Be like, girl, you better leave that boy alone. Right? Because we understand. But if we don't understand the cost, it just seems like the story is dragging. It just seems like she keeps circling the block. It just seems like you're repeating the same thing over and over again, but a different way. And once you make that fear visceral, the wrong choice stops feeling frustrating and starts feeling inevitable. And that's the heart of the story. So I'm curious. Have you ever written a character who keeps making the wrong choice and then realized it was actually the most loyal one they could make? Or are you staring at a choice in your draft right now that suddenly makes sense? I say hit reply, but you could go down to the comments, hit reply and tell me. I read every one of my comments here and all of my comments that come to me in the newsletter. We will be continuing this series. Next week, we'll be talking about what happens when the lie gets challenged and why your character will fight tooth and nail to keep it intact. So that will be in the next video in this series because a lie doesn't just control meaning and choice. It controls their resistance to change. And that's where the real story lives. Why? Because that's what this is all about. Back to video one. All right. As a reminder, if you are in DTW, you already have the full access to this workshop, which is called Who Hurt You? And it is waiting in the classroom. So that is it for this week's newsletter. Another one in the bag. If this landed for you, I'd love to hear about it. Drop a comment and let me know what choice is your character making right now that looks wrong on the surface but makes sense to them. Again, I read every comment. I love seeing how this is showing up in your stories, both because as a writer, I just love it. And as an editor, I just love it. But also because it lets me know if there's some other things that I need to look at for future issues. I will see you in the next one or inside of DTW. Your girl is out. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I know you have a million things pulling at you, so it means a lot that you chose to be here. I will see you sooner than later. Take care. And as always, happy writing. Goodbye. I've been down so in love like I've been down so in love like